Hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining everybody for another whiskey review. Today we are going to be talking about what I find to be one of the best blended bourbon brands on the market today. I am now getting excited with each batch that is coming out. Each batch has been unique, had its own qualities, and batch 8 of this brand is the one we are going to be talking about today that I am particularly fond of. Curious what we're talking about? Well, stick around. Thanks for joining today, whiskey friends. Let's kick off the show. All right. Well, today we are going to be talking about K.Luke. Now, if K.Luke is a new name for you, this is a brand to get to know. I have had K.Luke on my radar since batch 4. This is now batch 8. And I did get to compare batch 4 to batch 8. I do prefer batch 8 here that we are about to step through, and I'll go through all the different details here. Now, K.Luke, for those that aren't familiar, is owned by Jonathan and Jennifer Misano. We actually had Jonathan on the channel back at the beginning of April 2024, so you can look up that live. It was a very interesting conversation, and we got to go through how they go through the blending process and ultimately evaluate which batches are going to get made and come out. He does a lot of blind flights when it comes to the various batches that he could blend in order to figure out which one they're actually going to commit to. I love that approach. I feel like that's something we would do on this channel as well if we had the opportunity to do these type of blending and batch releases. But this is going to be batch 8 here. Let me pull up the details. So with batch 8, I got this personally off of Shared Pour. So that is an online retailer that does ship to, I think, 26 to 30 states in the country. So if this is a brand that isn't available by you, the online retailers are a good way to do it. And Shared Pour is one of my go-to. They actually dropped a link where if you ordered 2 of these, you got free shipping. And I wanted to order one anyway because Jonathan sent us a sample of batch 8 to talk about during that live stream back in April, and I knew I needed a bottle for myself. Even though we sometimes get these small bottles, these can't count in an official review or in our end of year rankings. We have to own a bottle for it to count in our end of year top 10. So I had to get one. So it did cost $109. In general, K.Luke, I have seen between $105 to $120, depending on the store, depending on the batch. So you are talking about a premium pour, but also a really nice gift for somebody if you're looking to dabble in that area. Now, the proof on this one is 118.8, and it is non-age stated. So they do not disclose the ages of the batches. The other information that I can give you is that it's advertised as being a high rye, low rye blend, and also says distilled in Kentucky and Indiana. The Indiana component is probably the high rye, and thus also coming from my favorite distillery, MGP, which I do think shines on batch 8, which is probably the reason I'm going to be raving about this thing so much over the next couple minutes. Well, that's enough jibber jabbering. Let me get into this here. We're going to go through the nose, the palate, into the finish. We'll then get to the final scores and see where this thing ranks in the current standings as of recording. So thank you for joining me this far, whiskey friends. Cheers, everybody. So right off the bat, one of the notes that I get, which makes me think that there's quite a bit of MGP in this particular blend, is a ginger snap cookie. Gosh, our executive producer, Todd, put that note in my head when it comes to MGP, and now that is like one of my favorite markers, and I love that note. Ginger snap cookies are delicious. Beyond that ginger snap cookie, we'll then get into the fruits. essentially waves of a couple different kinds of fruits. I would say stone fruits, berries, and then there's even a bit of a cinnamon uh, sautéed apples with some butter. Even going beyond that, we can go on and on with this particular nose. I get like the skin of a soft pretzel, a little bit of that salt, and a caramel sauce that I'd be dipping that into. Layers and layers of the baking spices. Gosh, and there's even like a slight nuttiness to it too. But now the nuttiness comes across kind of oh, less aggressive than what you might think from like a Jim Beam or something, more like a walnut, like a soft nuttiness. I think that's it on the nose. Let's get into the palate. Now, with the nose, I do enjoy the nose quite a bit. And, just the level of complexity there. I'm going to give that one a thumbs up. All right, onto the palate. Hmm. Great viscous mouthfeel. That ginger snap cookie comes off right away. Layers of vanilla cream, pepper, rye spice. Then by the time you get to mid palate, it does transition lovely. There's this nice balance of oak and that ginger snap really does come back again. Let me get one more sip here. Talk about mid palate. Yeah, it really matches the nose really well. Lots of spice. There is also a bit of honey that comes through, a darker honey, and I do get that nuttiness again too when it comes to that walnut. So when it comes to the palate there, man, there's some fun stuff to break apart. It is delicious through and through. Teetered on giving it two thumbs. I am only going to give it one thumb here, but great, great palate. Now everything does escalate towards the finish, especially with how oily and creamy this is. Carries through really, really well. Let's get into the finish. Yeah, all those notes carry through on the finish. The rye spice picks up a little bit on the back of the palate, so I enjoy that quite a bit. Yeah, pepper, rye start to take over a little bit. Then it sort of subsides into this layer of baking spices. And I think the other note that comes through that really didn't come through before is almost like the custard or cream inside of an eclair. It's just got this nice creaminess there and still getting kind of the ginger snap cookie and waves of vanilla. Oh man, really, really balanced and fun blend to sit here and pick apart. And I could just sit here and, gosh, dive into these flavors for forever here. That's what I love about this one. So, what I'm going to say is when it comes to the finish, that's where I'm going to give it the two thumbs up. I think it does escalate towards the finish and really leaves me with a smile at the end. But it's also one of those whiskeys that, gosh, I want to take an immediate sip of again. I don't have to because the flavors are still there, but they're so inviting and they're so delicious that I want to take another sip. Once again, a good marker for a good finish. All right, one more sip. Let's see if I find anything else. No, I think that's it. Oh, I got a lot more of that walnut towards the finish on that one too. So it kind of bounces between, you heard me mention off the top that there's a lot of MGP characteristics to this one, but then I'm bringing in a whole lot of things that have nothing to do with MGP, unlike any other MGP I've had before, and that's just the lovely part about having somebody who knows how to tinker and knows how to blend. There's familiar parts to it, and then there's additive parts to it, and that creates its own unique profile. So in the end, we had a whole bunch of metrics behind the scenes as we go through the nose, the palate, and the finish. But ultimately, it can get summarized into three scores: flavor score, experience score, and a value score. On the flavor score, gave it an 82.5. Experience score gave it an 88. The experience is a bit more elevated due to that creaminess and that level of complexity I was talking about, the length of the finish. And then the value, it is $109. I gave it a 9 out of 10 on a value. I would love if these things could hit more in the 90 to 99 range, but I do respect what they're doing as well, running it with a small business, putting out these blends, and it is a premium pour. But yeah, it's just a little high for value when it comes to recommending it, but it's also really, really good. I had no issues getting 2 of these. So then the final score came down to an 86 out of 100. That barely sneaks it into the top 10 thus far in 2024, ranking 9 out of 46 reviews done thus far this year. And then all time, very respectable, 44 out of 200 whiskeys reviewed all time. And when it comes to a final score of an 88, that essentially means in our scoring system that it had to get more 9s across the 10 metrics than 8s. I mean, essentially to get a perfect 85, you'd have 5 9s and 5 8s. Hey, it got something even more so on those metrics. So that puts it at an 86, and that also gives it the certified gold for the channel. So we can give K.Luke another award here. K.Luke has been bringing in quite a few awards over the years. Add a hello again certified gold to that. So that wraps up what my thoughts are on the K.Luke Batch 8. Now, I know I'm actually a little late in the cycle because this one came out in February of 2024. Batch 9 is actually hitting in some places now. And according to, I think it was Todd and Andy were talking about on 21090, Batch 9 they thought was even better than Batch 8. So something else to keep an eye out for. And this is actually a brand where now I am interested to kind of track this batch to batch. Knowing how much care is being put into each batch, but also the fact that each batch does taste differently. Even got batch 7 in a blind just the other day. Was blown away by that one. I might buy that one too. So K.Luke is on my favorite list right now, and I'm going to keep getting these while Jonathan and Jennifer are mixing such great whiskeys. So thank you for joining today, whiskey friends. If you've tried out K.Luke, let me know what you think of it in the comments, what batch you've tried and how it was. And if you haven't tried K.Luke yet, hey, go check out some online retailers. It's out there on Shared Pour. It's out there on Sealbach. Talk to your stores about it. Get this brand in more stores. They are doing good work. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll catch you on the next whiskey review. Goodbye, everybody.
Jeff, just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me.